Time magazine has named Vladimir Zelensky and what it called the spirit of Ukraine as its Person of the Year. The magazine said it was honoring the Ukrainian president for his role in leading his country's resistance against Russia's invasion. Russia's President Vladimir Putin has acknowledged that his war in Ukraine could turn into a, quote, long-term process. He was defending the war to his personal Human Rights Council after the Ukrainian military allegedly carried out a series of drone attacks against targets deep inside Russia. Putin went on to say that he would not mobilize additional troops for now, despite setbacks on the battlefield.
Like many parts of eastern Ukraine, this farmer's field is now a battlefield. Despite recent gains by Kyiv, soldiers say an influx of Russian reinforcements is halting their advance.
The enemy has become very active. Their attacks have intensified. Their aviation is more active. There are continuous air intelligence missions. Our positions were shelled all day yesterday. Their unmanned aerial devices were in the air all day.
In nearby villages, people have been living without heat, electricity, and water since the start of the war, more than 9 months ago. People jump every time a missile strikes.
Sometimes it's really bad. Sometimes it's so scary. The whole house is shaking.
It appears her village will remain a war zone for many months to come. In an address to his Human Rights Council, Vladimir Putin warned of a long conflict in Ukraine.
For our part, there can only be one response: fighting consistently for our national interests. And so we'll be doing exactly this. Nobody should ever count on anything else.
While Russian troops continue their war, Ukraine is gathering evidence, including thousands of munitions. Experts hope they may one day be used to help bring the Russian leader to justice.
Now, Lyubov Tsibulska is an advisor to the Ukrainian foreign minister, and she told us what she thought of Putin's statement that the war will be a, quote, long process.
We do not have other choice except fighting and we know that it is lengthy processes. And in Russia, they called it from the very beginning special military operation. And today Putin called it war. And I think he called this this war this way because even in Russia, they prepare their people for this understanding that these losses, they cannot be losses of special military operation. Special military operation, and like any military operation, should have some time indicators. But here they cannot win and they don't have any success. So they finally started admitting that this is war. And obviously for us Ukrainians, it doesn't really matter how long it will take, because for us it's a matter of our survival. So it doesn't matter if we will have to fight 3 months or 4 months or even a year, just because this is about our lives. It's about they want to kill us and destroy us here.
Now, our correspondent Max Sander joins us from Kyiv. Max, what do you make of what you've just heard? Ukraine doesn't seem at all intimidated by this talk of a long and grinding war.
Right. So I think most Ukrainians aren't really concerned by the labels the Russian president uses for what he is doing here, be it special military operation or a war. That's domestic politics. For the Ukrainians here, this clearly is a war. This does not change the facts on the ground. Ukrainians have been dealing for more than 9 months now with missile strikes, with artillery shelling, with occupation, with terrible war crimes being committed there. Some large parts of the country still under Russian occupation. And Ukrainians are determined to fight back. 2 days ago, the Ukrainian president made an appearance at the front at a Ukrainian Armed Forces Day and said that in a year's time, Ukraine would be fully liberated, all the occupied territories, including Russian annexed Crimea. But it's a difficult task. There's still severe fighting going on. There's strong fighting going on around the town in Bakhmut, for example, at the moment, where also President Zelensky said every meter counts at the moment. The Russians have managed to take some suburbs there. There has been fighting and attacks on 9 regions that were struck last night by artillery shelling in the town of Kharkov. Just to give you an example, 10 civilians were killed by Russian fire. Russia has been sending in Iranian Shahed drones, so the fighting here is still going on, but Ukrainians are determined to resist and to eventually, in the long run, win this war.
Now, NATO's Secretary General has also again warned about the months ahead in the war. Tell us more about that.
Right, so NATO Secretary Jens Stoltenberg said that Russia is trying to freeze the war. Fighting in winter is difficult, and Russia itself has been dealing with some setbacks here. Clearly, this did not go as the Kremlin had planned. This was supposed to be a war that would last only a couple of days. Now it's going into more than 9 months. So what we know is that Russia has been fortifying areas at their national borders. Russia is seemingly also quite unsettled by recent drone attacks of Ukrainians that have not been claimed, I have to add here, but drone attacks on their national territory. So Russia is now doing everything to has some issues with replenishing stocks, with sending new soldiers to the front. So they will do anything to buy time, to freeze the conflict, and to continue fighting perhaps another larger offensive in spring.
Correspondent Max Sander there in Kiev. Thank you, Max.